Tongue twisters: a flea and a fly. Tongue twisters are fun word games we use to challenge our pronunciation. As an English learner, you can use tongue twisters to help with pronunciation of certain sounds. In this tongue twister, a flea and a fly, you can work on your F's. Use lots of breath to help you get the fricative F sound strong. Remember that F is voiceless, pronounced without the voice by a strong push of air through pursed lips. A flea and a fly. A flea and a fly flew up in a flue. Said the flea, "Let us fly." Said the fly, "Let us flee." So they flew through a flaw in the flue. Listen to flea and fly a number of times and then try it for yourself. Improving your pronunciation of F. A flea and a fly helps you practice F. The F sound is voiceless and sometimes confused with the V sound, which is voiced. Practice the difference in these sounds with minimal pairs. Words that only have a difference between the F and V sound. Vi-fi, food voodoo, fame vain, van fan. Feel the difference between voiced and voiceless sounds. Place your hand on your throat and say, van, and you will feel a vibration for the V sound. Place your hand on your throat and say, fan, and you'll feel no vibration at all for the F, a voiceless sound. Seashells by the seashore, tongue twister. Tongue twisters are fun word games we use to challenge our pronunciation. As an English learner, you can use tongue twisters to help with pronunciation of certain sounds. This tongue twister is perfect for practicing your S sounds. Use lots of breath to help you get the hissing S sound strong. Remember that S is voiceless, pronounced without the voice by pushing air between your teeth and through open and rounded lips. Seashells by the seashore, tongue twister. Tongue twisters are fun word games we use to challenge our pronunciation. As an English learner, you can use tongue twisters to help with pronunciation of certain sounds. This tongue twister is perfect for practicing your S sounds. Use lots of breath to help you get the hissing S sound strong. Remember that S is voiceless, pronounced without the voice by pushing air between your teeth and through open and rounded lips. Seashells by the seashore. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells. So if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Improve your pronunciation of S. Seashells by the seashore helps you practice S. The S sound is voiceless and sometimes confused with the Z sound, which is voiced, or the sh sound, which is also voiceless. Practice the difference in these sounds with minimal pairs. Words that only have a difference between the S, Z, and sh sound. Sip, ship, zip, see, z, she, sign, shine, zap, sap. Feel the difference between voiceless and voiced sounds. Place your hand on your throat and say, see, and you will feel no vibration for the S sound. Place your hand on your throat and say, zebra, and you'll feel no vibration at all for the Z, a voiced sound. 6 Steps to Master Small Talk. The ability to make small talk is highly valued. In fact, many English students are more interested in making effective small talk than knowing correct grammar structures, and rightly so. Small talk gets friendships started and breaks the ice before important business meetings and other events. What is small talk? Small talk is pleasant conversation about common interests. Why is small talk difficult for some English learners? First of all, making small talk is not difficult only for English learners, but also for many native speakers of English. However, small talk can be especially difficult for some learners because making small talk means talking about almost anything, and that means having a wide vocabulary that can cover most topics. Most English learners have excellent vocabulary in specific areas, but may have difficulties discussing topics they are unfamiliar with because of a lack of appropriate vocabulary. This lack of vocabulary leads to some students blocking. They slow down or stop speaking completely because of a lack of self-confidence. How to improve small talk skills. Now that we understand the problem, the next step is to improve the situation. Here are some tips to improve small talk skills. Of course, making effective small talk means lots of practice, but keeping these tips in mind should improve overall conversational skills. Do some research. Spend time on the internet, reading magazines, or watching TV specials about the type of people you are going to meet. For example, if you are taking a class with students from other countries, take time after the first few days of class to do some research. They will appreciate your effort and your conversations will be much more interesting. Stay away from religion or strong political beliefs. While you may believe in something very strongly, beginning conversations and making small talk about your own personal convictions may abruptly end the conversation. Keep it light. Don't try to convince the other person that you have the correct information about a higher being, political system, or other belief system. Use the internet to gain specific vocabulary. This is related to doing research about other people. If you have a business gathering or are meeting people who share a common interest, a basketball team, a tour group interested in art, etc., take advantage of the internet to learn specific vocabulary. Almost all businesses and interest groups have glossaries on the internet explaining the most important jargon related to their business or activity. Ask yourself about your culture. Take time to make a list of common interests that are discussed when making small talk in your own culture. You can do this in your own language, but check to make sure that you have the English vocabulary to make small talk about those subjects. Find common interests. Once you have a subject that interests both of you, keep to it. You can do this in a number of ways. Talking about travel, talking about the school or friend you have in common, talking about the differences between your culture and the new culture. Just be careful to make comparisons and not judgments. Example, the food in our country is better than the food here in England. Listen. This is very important. Don't get so worried about being able to communicate that you don't listen. Listening carefully will help you understand and encourage those speaking to you. You might be nervous, but letting others state their opinions will improve the quality of the discussion and give you time to think of an answer. Common small talk subjects. Here is a list of common small talk subjects. If you have difficulties speaking about any of these topics, try to improve your vocabulary by using the resources available to you. internet, magazines, teachers at school, etc. Sports, current matches or games, favorite teams, etc. Hobbies. Weather, boring, but can get the ball rolling. Family, general questions, not questions about private matters. Media, films, books, magazines, etc. Holidays, where, when, etc. but not how much. Hometown, where do you come from? How is it different? Similar to this town. Job, once again, general questions not too specific. Latest fashion and trends. Celebrities, any gossip you may have. Here is a list of topics that probably aren't very good for small talk. Of course, if you are meeting a close friend, these topics may be excellent. Just remember that small talk is generally discussion with people you don't know very well. Salary. How much do you make? That's none of your business. Politics. Wait until you get to know the person better. Intimate relationships, only for you and your partner. Or maybe your best friend. Religion. Tolerance is the key. Death. We need to face it, but not the first time we meet someone new. Financial. Related to salary above. Most people prefer to keep financial information to themselves. Sales. Don't try to sell something to someone you have just met. Beginner dialogues, giving and requesting personal information. Use this role play to practice asking about personal information. Make sure you know how to ask questions with the verb to be. Personal information includes information about a person's job, marital status, address, phone number, etc. These questions are important when providing information at banks, schools, stores, when taking surveys and more. Practicing dialogues with personal information. What's your surname, last name, family name? My surname, last name, family name, is Smith. What's your first name? My first name is Fred. Where are you from? I'm from, place. What's your job? Or, what do you do for a living? I'm a. Occupation. What's your address? My address is, state address. What is your telephone number? My number is, state phone number. How old are you? I am, state age. Are you married or single? I am married, single, engaged, divorced, separated, and what are your hobbies? List hobbies, for example, painting, going windsurfing and watching TV. Key vocabulary. Surname, family name, first name. Numbers. Address. Telephone number. Married, single, engaged, divorced, separated. Hobby. Interrupting in English. Interruption is not always negative and is often even unavoidable. Interjecting can be necessary for a number of reasons. You might interrupt a conversation to give a message to someone, ask a quick question, give your opinion on something that has been said, join a conversation. If you find yourself needing to carefully interrupt a conversation for any of the above reasons, there are certain forms and phrases that you should use so as not to offend or otherwise upset anyone. Sometimes, you will use more than one of these phrases in order to smoothly interrupt. Though interruption is often justified and forgivable, this conversation technique should be used sparingly. Reasons to interrupt. An interruption is essentially a pause. When you pause a conversation, you will almost definitely draw attention to yourself. So it's important to make sure that your reason for interrupting will be seen as valid by the whole group. Giving someone important information, asking a quick question, sharing your opinion on something said, or interrupting to join a conversation are all acceptable reasons for pausing. Keep in mind that interruptions should generally be accompanied by either an apology or permission-seeking question, such as, "Do you mind if I join?" This is respectful to the speaker you interrupt and all those listening. You should also keep your interruptions as short as possible so that a conversation is not derailed by the interruption. Giving someone information. Use these short phrases to efficiently deliver a message or get someone's attention mid-conversation. These are effective whether you are giving information to an individual or the whole group. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're needed. I apologize for the interruption, but I had to quickly let you know that. Pardon me, I have someone waiting, an object, information requested, etc. I hope you'll excuse me for interrupting, but could I quickly get you to?" Asking a quick question. Sometimes it is necessary to pause a conversation to ask a clarifying question. There are even times when you might need to stop a speaker to ask a question that is not related to the topic of conversation. No matter what the situation, these short phrases allow for brief questions during a conversation. "I'm sorry for interrupting, but I don't quite understand. Sorry for the interruption, but could you repeat? This will only take a minute. Would you mind telling me? I apologize for the interruption, but I have an important question about." Alternatively, you can use questions as a polite way of joining a conversation. Here are some ways that you can ask for permission from a group to become part of their discussion. "Could I jump in? Could I add something? Do you mind if I say something? May I interject?" Sharing your opinion. If you feel that you have something to share or comment on as a conversation is happening that will add value to the discussion, use these phrases to considerately do so. "That makes me think of. Interesting that you say that because. What you said about. Reference something said. Reminds me that. Your point sounds an awful lot like something else." Use caution when interrupting to share an opinion or story, as these are unwelcome interjections when they are not relevant, happen too frequently, or are impolitely executed. Always pay respect to a speaker you are stopping and never make it seem like you believe what you have to say is more important than what was already being said. Joining a conversation. Sometimes you will want to join a conversation that you were not originally a part of. In these cases, you can insert yourself into a discussion without being rude using the following phrases. "Would you mind if I joined? I couldn't help overhearing. Sorry to butt in, but I think. If I may, I feel." What to do when you are interrupted. Just as you will sometimes need to interrupt, you will sometimes be interrupted, perhaps more frequently. If you are the speaker, it is up to you to determine how to proceed. Decide whether you want to reject or allow an interruption and then respond accordingly. Interrupting someone who has interrupted you. You do not always need to allow an interruption. If you were interrupted rudely or believe that you should finish your thought first, you have the right to express this without being considered impolite. Use one of these phrases to firmly but respectfully redirect the conversation back to yourself. "Please let me finish. Can I continue, please? Let me wrap up my thought before you start. Would you please let me finish?" Allowing an interruption. You may choose to allow an interruption if you do not mind being stopped. Respond to a person who has asked if they can interrupt you using one of these expressions. "No problem. Go ahead. Sure. What do you think? That's all right. What is it that you want? Need?" Once you've been interrupted, you can continue where you left off when you were interrupted with one of these phrases. "As I was saying, I think. I'd like to return to my argument. To get back to what I was saying, I feel." Continuing where I left off. Example: Interrupting to give information. It's really amazing how beautiful Hawaii is. I mean, you couldn't think of anywhere more beautiful. Excuse me, but Tom is on the phone. Thanks, Anna. To Greg. This will only take a moment. Can I bring you some coffee while she takes the call? No thanks, I'm fine. She'll be right back. Example, interrupting to share an opinion. If we continue to improve our sales in Europe, we should be able to open new branches elsewhere. Not yet a part of the conversation. I couldn't help but overhear you talking about opening new branches. Do you mind if I add something? Of course, go ahead. Thanks, Marco. I think we should open new branches no matter what. We should be opening new stores whether or not our sales improve. Thank you, Stan. As I was saying, if we improve sales, we can afford to open new branches. Beginner English language practice, in a motel, hotel. Make sure to understand the use of the verb, like, when checking into a hotel, as well as how to ask polite questions with the modal verbs, can, and, may. Understanding vocabulary related to travel will help you communicate when you are in a motel or a hotel. Getting a room for the night. Good evening. Can I help you? Yes, please. I'd like a room for the night. Would you like a single room or a double room? A single room, please. How much is the room? It's $55 per night. Can I pay by credit card? Certainly. We take Visa, MasterCard and American Express. Could you fill in this form, please? Key vocabulary. Can I help you? I'd like a room. Single, double room. Can I pay by credit card? Fill in this form. Passport number. Room number. Reception. Where is the elevator? Lobby. Is breakfast included? Do you offer room service? At the airport, a dialogue and quiz for beginner English learners. If you are traveling and need to visit an airport, you can expect polite questions when checking in, going through customs, and boarding a plane. You should always remember to be polite, especially when speaking to customs officials and security officers. Knowing the socially appropriate things to say will help you speed through the check-in and boarding process. To prepare for your trip to the airport, study vocabulary related to travel and practice these basic English dialogues with a partner. Afterward, take a quiz to test your verbal skills related to airport travel. Important questions at check-in. Expect these questions when checking in at an airport. Before practicing the dialogue below, familiarize yourself with the terminology and phrasing of these questions. Can I have your ticket, please? May I see your passport, please? Would you like a window or an aisle seat? Do you have any baggage? What is your final destination? Would you like to upgrade to business or first class? Do you need any help getting to the gate? Check-in practice dialogue. The following dialogue between a passenger service agent and a passenger is fairly typical of a discussion you might encounter at an airport. Take one of the roles, find a friend or fellow student to take the other role, practice the dialogue, and switch roles. Good morning. Can I have your ticket, please? Here you are. Would you like a window or an aisle seat? An aisle seat, please. Do you have any baggage? Yes, this suitcase and this carry-on bag. Here's your boarding pass. Have a nice flight. Thank you. Going through security. After you've checked in, you'll need to go through airport security. It's important to follow instructions carefully and understand these requests. Please step through the scanner. Asked when you are passing through metal detectors at the airport, please step to the side. Asked if a security officer needs to question you further, please raise your arms to the side. Asked when you are inside a scanner, empty your pockets please. Please take off your shoes and belt. Please take any electronic devices out of your bag. Security practice dialogue. Things move quickly at an airport once you reach the security checkpoint. Use this dialogue practice to help you speed through the process. Next, here's my ticket. Please step through the scanner. Beep, beep, beep. What's wrong? Please step to the side. Certainly. Do you have any coins in your pocket? No, but I have some keys. Ah, that's the problem. Put your keys in this bin and walk through the scanner again. Okay, excellent. No problem. Remember to unload your pockets before you go through security next time. I'll do that. Thank you. Have a nice day. Passport control and customs. If you take an international flight, you'll have to pass through passport control and customs. Here are some of the most common questions you can expect. Can I see your passport? Are you a tourist or here on business? Asked at customs to determine the purpose of your visit. Do you have anything to declare? Sometimes people need to declare things they have bought in other countries. Have you brought any food into the country? Some countries do not allow certain foods to be brought into the country. Passport control and customs dialogues. You may have different experiences at the passport control and customs sections depending on the laws of the country you are visiting as well as the type of items you are bringing in. Good morning. Can I see your passport? Here you are. Thank you very much. Are you a tourist or here on business? I'm a tourist. That's fine. Have a pleasant stay. Thank you. Do you have anything to declare? I'm not sure. I have 2 bottles of whiskey. Do I need to declare that? No, you can have up to 2 quarts. Great. Have you brought any food into the country? Just some cheese I bought in France. I'm afraid I'll have to take that. Why? It's just some cheese. Unfortunately, you are not allowed to bring cheese into the country. I'm sorry. Okay, here you are. Thank you. Anything else? I bought a t-shirt for my daughter. That's fine. Have a nice day. You too.
Active listening in the classroom, an important motivational strategy. There is an emphasis on students developing speaking and listening skills in classrooms. The Common Core State Standards, CCSS, promote the academic reasons for providing ample opportunities for students to take part in a variety of rich, structured conversations in order to build a foundation for college and career readiness. The CCSS suggests that speaking and listening be planned as part of a whole class, in small groups, and with a partner. But research shows that it is listening, really listening, to students that is critical to the student-teacher relationship. Knowing their teacher is interested in what they are saying makes students feel cared for and emotionally connected to their school. Since research shows that feeling connected is necessary for students' motivation to learn, showing that teachers listen is important not only as a matter of kindness but also as a motivational strategy. It is easy to perform routine tasks while listening to students. In fact, at times teachers are evaluated for their multitasking ability. However, unless teachers appear to be completely focused on the student speaking, he or she is apt to think the teacher doesn't care about what's being said, or about them. Consequently, in addition to really listening to students, teachers must also show they are really listening. An effective way to demonstrate teacher attentiveness is to use active listening, a technique that can be used for Gaining self-understanding. Improving relationships. Making people feel understood. Making people feel cared for. Making learning easier. By using active listening with students, teachers build the relationship of trust and caring that is essential to student motivation. By teaching active listening, teachers help students overcome poor listening habits such as dwelling on internal distractions, developing a prejudice about the speaker due to an early remark with which the listener disagrees, focusing on the personal characteristics of the speaker or their poor delivery, which prevents understanding. Since these poor listening habits interfere with classroom learning as well as interpersonal communication, learning active listening, specifically the feedback step, may also improve students' study skills. In the feedback step, the listener summarizes or paraphrases the speaker's literal and implied message. For example, in the following dialogue, Para provides feedback to a student by guessing the student's implied message and then asking for confirmation. I don't like this school as much as my old one. People are not very nice. You are unhappy at this school? Yeah. I haven't made any good friends. No one includes me. You feel left out here? Yeah. I wish I knew more people. Although some people recommend giving feedback with a statement rather than a question, the objective remains the same: to clarify either the factual and/or emotional content of the message. Through refining the listener's interpretation of the student's statements, the speaker gains greater insight into their own feelings and may reap the benefits of catharsis. The speaker also knows the listener is really paying attention. At the same time, the listener improves their ability to focus on a speaker and to think about implied meanings. Active listening in the classroom. Although the feedback step is at the heart of active listening, take each of the following steps to be effective with this technique. 1. Look at the person and suspend other things you are doing. 2. Listen not merely to the words, but the feeling content. 3. Be sincerely interested in what the other person is talking about. 4. Restate what the person said. 5. Ask clarification questions. 6. Be aware of your own feelings and existing opinions. 7. If you have to state your views, say them only after you have listened. These steps, paraphrased from the Self-Transformation Series, issue number 13, are simple. However, becoming skilled in active listening requires considerable practice after the purpose and steps are thoroughly explained and examples are analyzed. Performing the steps effectively depends on giving appropriate feedback and sending appropriate verbal and non-verbal signals. Verbal signals. I'm listening, cues. Disclosures. Validating statements. Statements of support. Reflection, mirroring statements. Non-verbal signals. Good eye contact. Facial expressions. Body language. Silence. Touching. It is also possible to apply active learning for problem behaviors for a better classroom environment.
Asking for a favor in English, lesson and quiz. Asking for a favor refers to asking someone to do something for you. Use these phrases to politely ask for a favor. When someone asks you for a favor, you'll have to either grant it, say yes, or refuse it, say no. Pay special attention to the form of the verb used in each case. Asking a favor. Could you do me a favor? Is used to find out if someone will do a favor for you as a way to begin the conversation. The form "would you do me a favor?" is more formal. Would you do me a favor? Could you do me a favor? Could you please, plus verb. Use the simple form of the verb, do, to ask for help with specific actions such as asking for help in daily situations. Could you please take me to work? Could you please lend me a hand? Could you possibly? Plus verb. Use the simple form of the verb to ask for help with specific situations while being extremely polite. Could I possibly take some time off to help? Could you possibly work overtime today? Could I ax, bother, trouble you, plus infinitive. Use the infinitive form of the verb, to do, to ask for a favor in formal situations. Could I ask you to help my brother? Could I bother you to give me a ride to work? Could I trouble you to open the door for me? Would you mind? Plus verb. Plus ing. Use the gerund form of the verb, doing, to ask for a favor in everyday situations. Would you mind closing the window? Would you mind cooking dinner tonight? Would it be too much trouble for you? Plus infinitive. Use this form with the infinitive to ask for a favor in very formal situations. Would it be too much trouble for you to let me come in late tomorrow? Would it be too much trouble for you to take a look at this letter? May I plus verb? Use the simple form of the verb with may when the favor you're asking requires permission. May I leave class early? May we use your telephone? Granting a favor. If you would like to say yes to someone who asks you for a favor, you can grant the favor using these phrases. Sure. No problem. I'd be happy to help you. It would be my pleasure. I'd be glad to help out. It's common to ask for more specifics when granting a favor. For instance, if your friend asks you to help him out with a project, you might ask some follow-up questions to get an idea of what is needed. Would you mind giving me a hand? I'd be happy to help you. What do you need help with? Refusing a favor. If you are unable to help out and need to say no, you can refuse a favor with these responses. I'm afraid I can't. Sorry, but I'm unable. Plus infinitive. Unfortunately, I'm not able. Plus infinitive. Regrettably, I can't. Plus verb. Saying no is never fun, but sometimes it's necessary. It's common to offer a different solution to try to help out even if you can't do the favor. Could I ask you to help me with my homework? Unfortunately, I'm not able to do that. Why not? Regrettably, I can't do math very well, so I won't be able to help. Practice dialogues. Use these dialogues to practice asking for a favor, granting favors, and refusing favors. Asking for a favor which is granted. Hi Anna. I've got a favor to ask. Would you mind cooking dinner tonight? I'm kind of busy. Sure, Peter. What would you like for dinner? Could I trouble you to make some pasta? That sounds good. Let's have pasta. Which type of sauce should I make? Would it be too much trouble to make a 4-cheese sauce? No, that's easy. Yum. Good idea. Thanks, Anna. That really helps me out. No problem. Hey, could you please help me with the homework? I'd be glad to help out. What seems to be the problem? I don't get this equation. Would you mind explaining it to me? No problem. It's difficult. Yeah, I know. Thanks a lot. Don't worry about it. Asking for a favor which is refused. Hello, Mr. Smith. Could I ask you a question? Sure. What do you need? Would it be too much trouble for you to let me come in at 10 tomorrow morning? Oh, that's a little difficult. Yes, I know it's last moment, but I have to go to the dentist. I'm afraid I can't let you come in late tomorrow. We really need you at the meeting. Okay, I just thought I'd ask. I'll get a different appointment. Thanks, I appreciate it. Hey, would you mind letting me watch my show? Sorry, but I can't do that. Why not? I'm watching my favorite show now. But I'm going to miss my favorite game show. Watch it online. Don't bother me. Could you please watch your show online? It's a rerun. Sorry, but I'm unable to do that. You'll just have to watch it later. Practice situations. Find a partner and use these suggestions to practice asking for favors, as well as granting and refusing favors as shown in the examples. Make sure to vary the language you use when practicing rather than using the same phrase over and over again. Ask someone to loan you $50 for the weekend, help you with your homework, assist you with some paperwork such as filling out a form, give you a ride, check your writing or correct your grammar, practice speaking English with you, cook a meal, let you take a day off work.
Powerful verbs for your writing. Inventory your own verbs for powerful writing. Verbs are action words, right? We all remember that from elementary school. Verbs describe the action that is taking place. But verbs don't have to surrender all the fun and emotional power to adjectives, the words that traditionally paint the pictures in our heads. As a matter of fact, the most powerful writers use verbs quite effectively to illustrate their writing. Review your verbs. After you complete a draft of your paper, it might be a good idea to conduct a verb inventory. Just read over your draft and underline all your verbs. Do you see repetition? Are you bored? Verbs like said, walked, looked, and thought can be replaced with more descriptive words like mumbled, sauntered, eyeballed, and pondered. Here are a few more suggestions. Looked, gazed, stared, severed with his eyes. Walked, strolled, spidered, sashayed, skulked. Said, suggested, uttered, bellowed, argued. One way to make verbs more interesting is to invent them from other word forms. Sounds illegal, doesn't it? But it's not like you're printing dollar bills in your basement. One type of noun that works well is animal types, since some animals have very strong characteristics. Skunks, for instance, have a reputation for being stinky or spoiling the air. Do the following statements evoke powerful images? He skunked the party up with his cologne. She snaked the hallways. She wormed her way out of the class. Jobs as verbs. Another noun type that works well is names of occupations. We often use doctor as a verb, as in the following sentence. She doctored the paper until it was perfect. Doesn't that evoke the image of a woman hovering over a piece of writing, tools in hand, crafting and nurturing the paper to perfection? What other occupations could paint such a clear scene? How about police? Mrs. Parsons policed her garden until it was completely pest-free. You can get very creative with unusual verbs. Bubble wrapped the insult to suggest that the insult was surrounded by softer words. Tabled your idea, but you do have to use colorful verbs tactfully. Use good judgment and don't overdo the creativity. Language is like clothing, too much color can be just plain odd. List of power verbs. Abscond, accelerate, adapt, advocate, afflict, agonize, analyze, anticipate, ascertain, aspire, assess, assimilate, barter, better, bypass, calculate, challenge, champion, clarify, coordinate, define, delegate, describe, detail. Devalue, dispense, divert, duplicate, examine, execute, exhibit, expedite, facilitate, forge, formulate, generalize, generate, halt, have, hypothesize, illustrate, implement, inquire, labor, launch, lull, manipulate, model. Monitor, observe, orchestrate, position, procure, qualify, reconcile, refrain, regulate, restructure, revisit, secure, simplify, solve, surpass, table, tabulate, taint, thwart, trigger, undervalue, undulate, utilize, value, verify, vex. How to use bring, take, fetch, and get. The four verbs bring, take, fetch, and get are all used in a similar manner to mean moving an object from one place to another. However, there are key differences to the use of each verb that depend on where the speaker stands in relation to the objects. How to use bring and take. The use of bring and take is confusing for many students. The choice between bring or take depends on the location of the speaker. If the speaker refers to something that is at her current location, she uses bring. Generally, use bring when something moves from there to here. I'm glad you brought me to this shop. It's great. I'll bring the map with me on the trip. If the speaker refers to something that has been moved to a different location, she uses take. Generally, use take when something moves from here to there. The children took their books with them to class. Jack took his laptop with him on his trip. Bring and take have a similar meaning when used with or along with. In this case, the expression used refers to including someone or something with you when you travel somewhere. She took her brother along with them on the trip. I brought my book with me so I can read while I wait for you to finish. I took along a copy of the homework assignment just in case I had time to study. Finally, the verb bring is often used with other prepositions to make phrasal verbs with the same meaning of bringing someone from one place to the place where the speaker is located. These include bring over and bring by. Could you bring over the game when you come? I'll bring the chairs by when I come on Saturday. How to use fetch and get. When speaking about going somewhere and getting something and then bringing it back, use get, American English, or fetch, British English. Could you get the newspaper? She fetched her diary and showed him the entry. Important phrasal verbs. Bring, take, and get can differ greatly from each other when used as phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs are verbs that are made up of a main verb followed by one or more prepositions known as particles. The particles of phrasal verbs can change the meaning of the original verb. Here are some of the most common phrasal verbs with bring, take, and get. Phrasal verbs with bring. Here are a number of phrasal verbs with bring with example sentences for context. Bring up equals raise a child. She brought her child up on her own. Bring about equals make happen. The change in our strategy brought about immediate success. Bring through equals keep safe. She brought her parents' treasures through the fire. Bring off equals succeed in doing. My sister brought off an incredible victory last weekend. Bring someone to equals make someone to do something. I think she brought him to tears when she told him she wanted to break up. Bring back equals to restart an older tradition. The fashion industry often brings back certain styles after a few decades. Phrasal verbs with get. Here are a few of the most common phrasal verbs with get. Get across equals make understood. I hope I got my point across to the students. Get around equals become well known. She gets around and almost everybody knows her. Get by equals make just enough money to pay the expenses. Many people are finding it harder and harder to get by these days. Get down equals be depressed. Sometimes I find this job really gets me down. Get down to equals start doing something. Let's get down to business and finish the report. Get through equals finish doing something. We got through the tests with 4 A's and 2 B's. Phrasal verbs with take. Finally, here are a number of phrasal verbs with take. Take someone around equals show someone something. Let me take you around the house. Take apart equals to deconstruct something. I need to take apart the cupboards and make some repairs. Take down equals remove something. Could you take down that ugly painting? Take in equals provide room for. We could take you in for the weekend. Take on equals begin a new responsibility. She took on a new job. Take up equals begin learning something new. I'd like to take up a new hobby soon. Bring, take. Get quiz. Choose the best option to complete each gap in the sentences. Pay close attention to time expressions to help you choose the correct tense. Also, look closely to see if the gap is followed by a preposition for phrasal verbs. 1. Did you blank your homework to class today? Bring, taken, fetch, get. 2. How much money did you blank with you when you went to Hawaii? Bring, take, fetch, get. 3. Please blank home some food for dinner tonight. Take, fetch, get, bring. 4. I blank my point across to him last night, so he decided to come with us. Brought, took, fetched, got. 5. We don't need to blank apart the computer. Let's just blank it to the store. Take, bring, take, bring, fetch, get, take. 6. Did you blank off the performance at the concert last night? Bring, take, fetch, get. 7. Have you ever blank up a new hobby that changed your life? Brought, fetched, taken, got. 8. Please go to the next room and blank the newspaper. Thank you. Bring, take, fetch, get. 9. I'll blank the children by before I leave on the trip next week. Bring, take, fetch, get. 10. Peter blank me around the town last week and showed me all the sights. Brought, took, fetched, got. 11. Alice has blank around and made a number of friends over the past few months. Brought, taken, fetched, gotten, got. 12. Let's begin the meeting. I'd like to blank down to business and discuss the past quarter's sales. Bring, take, fetch, get. 13. Could you please blank down that ugly picture? Bring, take, fetch, get. 14. Have you blank through the book yet? Brought, taken, gotten, got, fetched. 15. Have you ever blank up a child? Brought, gotten, taken, fetched. through, and through. How to choose the right word. The words through, and through are homophones. They sound alike, but through and through have different meanings, are different parts of speech, and were derived from different words. Through means the same as through but is an abbreviation used appropriately only in certain informal contexts. How to use through. Through is the past tense of the verb throw, which usually means to cause something to move through the air, either by hand or with a device such as a catapult, but it has many other meanings. It can also mean to dislodge the horse through its rider, to move suddenly or forcefully the angry guest through his clothes into a suitcase, to cast dice, to make pottery, or to lose deliberately the losing team through the game. Throw. The present tense of through came from throwen, a Middle English word meaning to twist, wring, or hurl, which in turn came from throwen, an Old English word meaning to throw or twist. How to use through. Through is still considered an informal spelling, though it predates through by more than 100 years. In its early days, English was an entirely phonetic written language, and through was one of many spellings of the word. But beginning in the early 16th century, standardization of spelling triggered by the printing press threw many variants, including through, into disuse. At the same time, written English was influenced by Old Norse and French spellings, resulting in words such as through. Through is listed as a preposition, adverb, or adjective, but, despite its pedigree, it's still considered more appropriate in informal writing such as a text message, a tweet, or a road sign, such as "no through street," than in a formal essay, professional writing, or a report. Examples. These sample sentences illustrate the varied meanings of through, and through. Buddy threw the baseball all the way from the outfield to home plate. Here through means hurled. Charles walked through the museum, looking for the schools of art that he had studied in school. In this example, through indicates a passage from one point to another. Marjorie is a senior and, at the end of the week, will be through with school. Here through means finished. Paul took a through train to avoid all the intermediate stops. In this usage, through means non-stop. Betsy learned about the job through an ad she saw on Craigslist. Here it means as a result of. The sign at the fast food restaurant pointed out the location of the drive-through window. This example illustrates an informal use of through as having the same meaning as through. Idiomatic uses of through. Uses of through can be expanded to include several other meanings by way of idioms, or expressions using a word such as through that are recognized as having different meanings from the literal definition of the word. These include threw a monkey wrench into, meaning sabotaged. His decision to quit his job threw a monkey wrench into Sarah's vacation plans. Threw cold water on, meaning discouraged by criticizing. Every time Bill thought he had a great idea, his boss threw cold water on the proposal. Threw oneself at, meaning tried hard to win attention or affection. He threw himself at Angie, but she made it clear that she wasn't interested in him. Threw oneself into, meaning tried vigorously. Sam wanted to get ahead in his job, so he threw himself into his work. Idiomatic uses of through. Through also appears frequently and usefully in idioms. Through and through, meaning completely, thoroughly, or throughout. She was a Denver Broncos fan, through and through. Go through with, meaning to experience, examine carefully, perform, use up, or complete. Despite the setbacks, she pledged to go through with the project. Go through the roof, meaning to get very angry. When Janet came in late from a date, her mom went through the roof, or to rise to a higher level. Bobby began applying himself to his studies and his grades went through the roof.
Please like, share, subscribe.